All right, so Kait Warman, I am so thankful that you are here with us.
So thankful, girl.
I am so thankful that you have just joined with us in Unhooked, and I know that the wisdom that you're about to share will truly touch the lives of so many people. But let's just get right into it. So I want to talk about heartbreak and breaking up.
Yes.
So a lot of us have either been heartbroken or have broken some hearts, because sometimes you just have to end those relationships. But talk a bit about your journey on healing from breakup, maybe some tips that you have for people. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, how to break up well.
Heartbreak is something we deal with so frequently. And it's really personal to me. I have quite the dating history and dated for the last 15 years, still am single, and went through a lot of heartbreaks. I think that in this process, the biggest part about heartbreak that can be the hardest is rejection. And rejection, basically, I define it as this dark space that likes to corrupt our minds with these hopeless lies saying that God does not care about us or have an incredible future for us. But through my journey of this, and what I've learned is that actually every heartbreak, every rejection is God's protection in our life. And I believe that every heartbreak is actually Him redirecting us to something greater. But through time, I've realized every single time I've been heartbroken, God has shown me through time, oh wow, I was not supposed to be in that situation. And there is purpose in the pain that I went through. So the first thing I would say is to really just feel the pain to heal from the pain. And that means embracing the 5 stages of grief, which I often think we don't do, girl. And those 5 stages are anger, bargaining, depression, denial, and eventually acceptance. And what I always recommend is it's okay to float through those stages. Don't stay in one stage too long, unless it's acceptance, of course. Yeah. But we actually have to be able to grieve it. And in that, a really important part of grieving it is inviting God into our grief, right? And Tim Keller has this awesome sermon actually called Praying Your Tears. Wow. And he actually says that invite God in to pray with you while you're crying. The second step is to reclaim love for ourselves. I think in this process of rejection, these lies of you're unworthy and you're invaluable come into our hearts and into our minds, and they're really easy for us to cling on to. So we have to reroute those lies. It says that we can take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. Step 3 would be to learn how to cultivate an incredible single life. I think what's so interesting about singleness is that we don't often celebrate it. We celebrate a lot of things such as engagements and babies and marriage. We do a really good job of celebrating those things. We don't celebrate singleness. So learn how to have an incredible single life in this process of healing.
I love that. I know, girl, you're preaching. You are preaching.
We do it.
Yes, but talk about how we can, on the flip side, break up well. So I know a lot of people in today's world just kind of avoid confrontation, and that's not very healthy. So how can we break up well?
Marriage is one of the most important decisions of your life. This is not something you want to take lightly. Gary Thomas has this incredible quote that I just say over and over because I need to remind myself of this, but would you rather be in a 50-year marriage totally frustrated or a 45-year marriage completely happy? The only difference is 5 years. And that's a lot of more years of your life either spent totally frustrated or completely happy. So if you want to break up with someone, totally understand that, but make sure it's not a reactionary decision. Make sure you are praying through this. The second thing is to be clear and honest with the person. I think too often, Ashley, that we are just not being honest with people. We're taking the easy way out. And to be honest, sometimes we're even blaming God. We're like, oh, I just don't have peace, or God told me you're not the one. And I do believe God speaks to us, but I think that sometimes people use that reason when they haven't really prayed through it that much. And I say, be really clear with the person. Don't allow there to be an option for the door to be open, because that will give someone false hope. So be clear and be honest with them. And then the very last thing is know that it's okay if you're not friends with that person right away after. You may need to take some time and space and discern what is best for your heart in this process. So
that's good. That's good. A lot of people have horror stories from dating other Christians. Why do you think that is?
Oh my goodness, this happens all the time. I mean, it happened to me a lot too, and I probably am the horror story for some people in my past. I'm sure I am. But I kind of think there's 2 parts to this. So the first thing is we put too much pressure on dating as Christians, and We do not need to know going into the first date if that person is going to be the mother or father of our children. We just don't. We put so much pressure on it that it doesn't allow us to enjoy the journey of dating. So if we can reframe dating, take some of the pressure off and say, you know what? I don't have to marry this person. I could just enjoy meeting another incredible human being. And that's amazing. If they're not for you, that's wonderful. You just made a friend. Awesome, right?
Yeah.
The second thing that we do, and it kind of is in tandem, we over-spiritualize dating so much, girl. It's like we need to have a word from God before we go on one date with a person. And I think absolutely we should be praying about our future husband or wife, but we do not need to be hearing from God that this is the person you must ask out. And I think over-spiritualization can actually be such an issue because it makes us sometimes in the end question God. Because if we hear this word from God, yes, ask this person out, or yes, this is your person, and it ends up not working out, then what?
Yeah.
Then you're like, well, what? Now I'm super confused, right? So sometimes I think we like to assume the supernatural before just assuming the natural.
I feel like a lot of people just in general have this perspective that there's no good guys or there's no good girls. What is your response to that kind of perspective on dating?
So good. So this is probably the number one thing people write in and say to me.
Really?
Especially women. There are no good guys out there. There are no good guys. And I just want to claim it right now that that is a myth.
Come on, girl.
If someone really feels there's no good guys out there, I like to challenge them. What are you doing to change it up in your life? What are you doing is your schedule the same every single week? Remember the insanity cycle? If you're doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, it's never going to happen. So are you going to a different coffee shop this week? Are you sitting at a different side of church this week? Are you going to the event where you don't know that many people? Or are you constantly turning those things down? The thing is, if every Friday night you are sitting at home binge watching a TV show, if you never go to new things with new people, you're not going to meet anyone. And it's going to seem like there are no good guys out there.
Wow, that's really powerful. So, Kait, before we go, I just want to ask you, what is your prayer for the single ladies and gents out there?
My prayer is ultimately, first and foremost, for people to really understand the depth of love for themselves. It says to love your neighbor as yourself. But if we don't truly love ourselves, we're not going to be able to love another person. So that is my first thing. Like, we need to understand God's love for us and how deeply and truly we are valued and cherished and beautiful and worthy of something phenomenal. From there, it is to change our perspective on dating, right? To see it as a way to really meet someone that God has created and appreciate the person that He has created them to be. Ultimately, we should see dating as a means to leave someone better than we found them. And if we can do that, we can change the culture of dating. You know, we really can. We can have healthier dating relationships to lead to healthier marriages. Let's reduce this divorce rate, right? And so that is my ultimate hope and my ultimate prayer for singles.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And I love all that you've shared. Kait, thank you so much for being here. As I said earlier, I know a lot of people are going to be touched by the wisdom that you've shared, so thank you.
Ashley, thank you so much. It's been so fun.
Awesome.